What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Spectrum Show. My name is Spencer, this is Jackson, and this is Sean, and we've got another incredible episode for you all to enjoy.
That's right, Spencer. In this episode, we'll be discussing a recently released sci-fi film from three-time Academy Award-winning director Bong Joon-ho, and we'll also be doing another throwback review, which we haven't done in a while.
Also, make sure to stay until the end of this video because we have some exciting updates regarding the channel, and you're not going to want to miss these ones.
That's very true, Sean. Also, one other piece of slightly less important news, but 2 days from now, at the time of recording, it's my birthday. Specifically, in the words of Taylor Swift, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. Also, yes, I know.
God,
Also, before we get started,
yes,
I know, I wanted to also give a shout out to the company Hunt a Killer, who are not a sponsor, by the way, who make incredible true crime murder mystery games, which I actually got as a gift for my birthday from a family member, so shout out to them. They feature incredible stories, realistic physical and digital evidence, and encourage cooperation throughout the whole process. So feel free to check them out using the link found on screen right now, as well as in the description box below. With that out of the way, we're going to take a moment to get ready for our first Spectrum of Opinions discussion, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. We're the cast of The Spectrum Show, all two of us, and it's time for our first Spectrum Opinions discussion. This time, we'll be discussing the recently released sci-fi comedy film from Bong Joon-ho, Oscar-winning director of Parasite and director of several other movies in his home country of South Korea, Mickey 17, a Hollywood endeavor this time. So, Spencer, what's your Spectrum Opinions on this one?
I'm going to be honest with you. This is not a movie I would typically normally see myself, but after seeing this, not bad, actually. It didn't blow my mind or anything.
Yeah, no, this is, I was telling you about this earlier. Bong Joon-ho kind of apparently, according to my buddy Robert, so, take it as you will, has this thing he does where he goes dark and serious movie. Parasite, had its funny bits, but it was ultimately a very somber movie by the end. Yeah. And then funny movie. I think, there was Oksha. This is his funny movie.
Yeah, it's like very crude humor-esque.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Which may or may not resonate with some of you. Who knows?
Yeah, no. I'm as someone who's only really seen Parasite and a good chunk of Memories of Murder, which is even darker than Parasite.
Oh,
it's based off real-life killings.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, no. It was hard. It was a bit hard to acclimate to him, translating that to this with, mostly American actors this time.
And also, not to mention, it's being a book adaptation, too, I think.
Yeah, of Mickey 7.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know why they changed the number.
Yeah, that's something that someone knows that.
Especially since they blow through a lot of the Mickeys just in montage.
That is true, yeah. And
maybe they just thought it would be, add flavor. Who can say? Anyway,
yeah, it does add flavor to the title, I will say. But
anyway, the plot of this movie is it's a sort of sci-fi thing. I'd like to say speculative, but it's so farcical that you kind of gotta wonder. Where Mickey Barnes, played by Robert Pattinson,
who you might
doing
know from films like Twilight and The Batman,
doing a very funny voice.
Yeah, it's best to say it did not sound like him at all.
He and Steve Yuen, are in debt to the mob, so they, need to find jobs on on a colony mission on a ship that's going to other planets, so that humans can live somewhere other than the, Earth that they've kind of exploited and is now just a terrible place to live.
Yeah, they don't really explain it clearly, and it's probably not worth it even.
No, I mean, they don't need to explain it too much, I think. So Mickey, specifically because he's so low-skilled, signs up to be an expendable worker, which means they take his genetics and DNA, clone him every time he dies because they intentionally put him on missions that are going to kill him, so they can, partly so that they,
can get a vaccination.
Well, it's for a couple reasons. One, they put him on dangerous missions that they can afford to send him on because they can just reprint him from their body printer.
Yeah.
And two, put him in experiments so that they can make vaccines for airborne viruses, stuff like that.
Yeah. So, a whole, dare I say, spectrum of reasons.
At one point something goes wrong. He thinks he's going to die, so they reprint him, but he actually gets out of the situation and comes back. And due to a lot of philosophical, religious, and political reasons. This
Yeah.
is a high crime, and both of them are in mega trouble if anyone finds out. But also they have to deal with the fact that the planet they're now colonizing has native inhabitants that they can maybe communicate with. And Mark Ruffalo is playing a very thinly veiled, politician-like allegory character. I don't even need to mention who it's poking fun at.
It's very very dystopian.
Yeah. This,
But I think we know.
this actually deals with a lot of themes that Bong Joon-ho does in a lot of his movies, like Parasite and Snowpiercer, of class divide, of,
Snowpiercer actually sounds familiar, not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, like, of the, well, Snowpiercer's been adapted. I think it had an English television adaptation a few years ago.
Okay.
And the original film actually had Chris Evans in it.
Oh, that's why I know it, yeah. But anyways,
It's still dealing with a lot of those themes of class divide, oppression, like wealth disparity. In this, like, it being very literalized as the underclass is expendable, and the ruling class will put them through as much pain as necessary, even for like banal reasons. Like Mark Ruffalo's wife in this movie is just obsessed with like grinding up like the native creatures of the planet so she can make like sauce for food.
literally, that's what they call it, sauce.
Yeah, and like,
And not only that, like, it just, you can definitely tell there's like those themes in this film, and it's honestly at times it's a little crazy to see, honestly.
yeah, no, and that's really the purpose of the whole. When I was seeing the trailers, I thought they would get a lot of mileage out of, maybe making all the Mickey's deaths very gnarly and distinct, kind of like like a horror movie or a slasher thing where you're going to it to see how all the teenagers die.
Yeah.
But really more of a focus is on like the planet and the creatures that they have to,
Yeah, it's very more
communicate.
sci-fi than horror.
Well, I wasn't really thinking horror. Like
Or
Novocaine, which I just saw recently, has a lot of like messed up action, but that's more just like action with like
thrill.
gruesome element.
Fair
Anyway,
enough.
acting-wise, I think everyone does a good job. Almost half of the actors are putting on their best cartoon voices, especially Ruffalo and Pattinson.
Yeah, they're the two standout names to this, and they definitely we're definitely more characterized, I guess. Yeah.
Like they're going like really hammy, chewing the scenery.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the love interest played by her name's escaping me.
Naomi Aki, I think.
I
Some Naomi. We'll put it on screen. And we'll.
I mean, for once, Jackson's too distracted to pull it up for us.
What do you need for what?
Who plays the black woman in
Love interest in Mickey 17.
Yeah. So Jackson's gonna fact check.
Probably reading all those reviews of the Electric State on Letterboxd. Anyway.
Anyways, moving past that. But honestly, I thought the portrayals were unique enough to make me give like a little bit of a.
Steve Yuen is always good. I love him. He's like
great.
a bit part in this, but I love him. I do like how Pattinson characterizes the two Mickeys, because I think they explain early on that like no two Mickeys are exactly the same.
I think they did.
So
yeah.
Mickey 17 is very meek, while 18 is highly aggressive and like is really just like.
Wait, I thought it was the other way around. I thought.
No, 18 like the one. 18's the one who's like he goes out fighting.
Oh, that's right. You're right. I totally didn't pay attention to that. I got them way too confused.
Naomi Aki.
That's
yeah,
what, yeah,
exactly.
So that's what I
Spencer
thought.
had it right.
And
Okay.
while looking it up, I also learned this movie is set to lose $75 million in its theatrical.
Oof.
Who plays Mark Ruffalo's wife?
Yeah, and we're gonna fact check who plays Mark Ruffalo's character's wife too.
Check that too.
Yeah, because all the performances were mostly
Yeah,
solid.
no,
in this.
I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, Mark Ruffalo is Razzie material in this," and it's like, do you guys not understand the concept of mugging for the camera?
Yeah, he's literally.
What's his wife's name in the movie?
Just like,
Oh, it's
just like look up his character and like find the last name or whatever.
yeah, that's probably what it is. Anyways, honestly, this movie, I mean, it's a really shame that this is not getting as much attention at the box office.
I think there's something that Zack Snyder said once that, well, the movie's out there. It got made. People got paid for it.
I mean, yeah, sure, that's true.
Toni Collette.
Toni Collette. Oh, I think I've heard of her
I
before.
recognize her.
Well, where have I-
Thank you, Jackson.
But yeah, honestly, we'll put that on screen.
I do like the sci-fi set dressing in this.
yeah, the sets and the the production design is great, honestly.
Yeah, no. I'm used to Bong Joon-ho in mostly contemporary settings, but I think he's adjusted well to the whole like Hollywood big budget sci-fi set type thing.
Yeah, he's probably gonna do a lot of big things soon.
It helps that like most of it seems practical. I think like it's mainly just the outside of the spaceship and maybe some like scenes on the planet.
And definitely the alien creatures for sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, like.
But maybe it's like puppeteered.
Maybe like the small ones are puppets. I don't know.
I was gonna say the big ones are probably puppets, honestly.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Like it probably depends from shot to shot, even in some cases.
That's probably true too, honestly. So, is there anything else that we need to discuss, or we?
Let's see. We discussed the plot. We discussed the acting. We discussed sets. I don't think this is. I do have some criticisms, though. I don't.
Okay.
I think this is a good movie, but I don't think it's particularly great.
I
Mostly
would agree with
because
that.
I think they could have honed in on Mickey and like his like, his like the characters more specifically as people, rather than like just jumping right to the indigenous creatures plot line.
Do they do that in the book?
Well, I haven't read the book, but it should be able to stand on its own, I think.
Yeah, I think I saw something online saying it doesn't matter which one you read or see first.
It does definitely feel more like a tested Hollywood movie in a lot of regards.
Yeah, it feels very concept-y.
I do think there is like a good thematic through line of Mickey like feeling guilt for the death of his mother, feeling like his role in society is a sort of penance is earned, that his place in society is, just how things ought to be, and coming to realize that no, like, society doesn't need to be organized with a constantly put upon underclass.
Absolutely.
But, that's also a very subtle thing, like, as opposed to, Parasite, where it's the whole thrust.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So,
Any criticisms you have?
I'd agree with all those, honestly. I think, I would agree it's not perfect, but it's solid.
Yeah, no, the pacing's a bit weird, like the order of scenes and how they're portrayed at the start.
That was the problem I had.
Yeah, no, it's a bit out of order, and it doesn't really feel like it needs to be.
And honestly, it just, like, some of these scenes just felt very, like, just off-putting in a sense.
I mean, I'm fine. Like, I can, like, do graphic. I do think, like, the effect, another thing about the effects, I think, they really nailed two Pattinsons being on screen at once.
Oh, 100%
I mean, we've
did.
had this locked down for a while. Even back in The Social Network, we had two Army Hammers on screen at once, which is
Really?
a terrifying prospect if you know his story.
Fair enough. But and it's not the newest thing. And in fact, I think with Sinners, there's going to be two Michael B. Jordans on screen.
Yes, indeed.
Which I forgot to mention this in the updates. You're going to have to stay tuned for that. I forgot to put that in the updates, but I think we're actually going to review Sinners in May, actually.
Oh, okay then.
So we're going to throw that in as a
Is
last
that going to be
minute
alongside Thunderbolts? Or wait?
It'll be
Born
alongside
Again?
Daredevil, Born Again.
Is Thunderbolts late May or early May?
Early May.
Okay then. We'll
figure it out.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so we'll keep you posted on that, and we filmed this out of order in case that
Aside
makes
from
sense.
that, yeah, I think that's all I really have to say. Mickey 17's it's a pretty straightforward movie, honestly.
Yeah, and I think I think this is probably going to be. Think this is going to get any award?
I don't know if
nominations?
it'll get any Academy Award nominations. Like I said, it's not Bong Joon-ho's strongest effort. And
Maybe
it's
at
not-
least a couple.
And also, Oscar season is probably going to, inflict more recency bias on people, which will give them other reasons not to include it. Maybe it'll be up for like adapted screenplay or
Sure.
like effects or something. But who can say? I don't think it wins Best Picture.
Fair enough. So I think that about wraps us up. Is there anything else you want to bring up?
And strong 7 to light 8.
Sure. Yeah. Strong 7 to light 8. So I think that wraps up this discussion. So, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we got another throwback review, like we said earlier. And this one is gonna be me and Jackson, and it might be pretty forceful. Not gonna lie. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. We're the cast of The Spectrum Show, and for our next Spectrum of Opinions discussion, we're going to be reviewing a movie all the way back from 2002, the sequel to Star Wars The Phantom Menace, which we discussed back in May of last year, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So, Spencer, what are your Spectrum of Opinions on this?
Well, after rewatching it, I can definitely say I definitely enjoy Phantom Menace more.
Phantom Menace is...
I'm looking back at it, and I'm like, wow, Phantom Menace actually is not bad compared to this.
I already went back into Phantom Menace kind of warmer than I expected. I gave that movie a 6 when I re-reviewed it.
Really?
It's impressive.
It's gotten better with time, I think.
I personally feel like even
Well, somewhat.
there are some
somewhat.
aspects of it that still haven't aged well, namely the racism. But
Anyways,
moving on.
you
Then again, Watto was in this movie too, so who knows?
also, do you want to explain the plot of this? Because one thing I will say that this film actually kind of did get right is that it feels slightly more simple, I guess.
No, I disagree.
Really?
I disagree. This film's plot this film's plot is honestly far more convoluted.
well, please explain then. I'm curious.
In
to hear
Star
your-
Wars Episode 2, The Phantom Menace,
Attack of the Clones.
Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, we jump, how many years between this and The Phantom Menace was it again?
10 years, I believe, which
We
is
jump-
a lot.
We jump 10 years from Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones. The Trade Federation from the Phantom Menace has started to form an alliance, including Sith Lord Count Dooku,
Yep.
who is working for Darth Sidious, as we know,
And former master of Qui-Gon.
Yeah, and they are planning to. They are essentially planning to lead the separatist movement from the first thing has fully solidified. They're breaking away from the Republic, and they want to. And in order to show they mean business, they're secretly constructing a droid army on Geonosis in order to ensure that the Jedi won't try anything.
As well as the Death Star.
As well as the Death Star at the end of the movie. Yeah, okay. I'll get to that. We'll get to that. But we also see Anakin and Obi-Wan returning to Coruscant after a long time away. Anakin reuniting with Padme. Padme being caught up in a series of assassination attempts. And Obi-Wan discovering a clone army being grown on the distant planet Kamino that is going to be important for the film because it's in the title of the movie.
Yes.
So what did you think of this overall?
Honestly, you explained that a lot better than what I would have done, for one.
Yeah.
There actually is probably as much going on with, there's like a lot going on there's a lot more subplots. You're absolutely right on that.
This movie is very firmly divided into an Anakin and an Obi-Wan plot line, and yet it feels way more complicated than Phantom Menace, which had several plot lines going on at once.
Yeah, I think Phantom Menace had more plot lines.
Phantom Menace had quite a few, actually.
Yeah. But honestly, like, I will say, and I remember enjoying this more when I was younger. I was like, wait, this wasn't as good as I remembered it to be.
This is absolutely the kind of movie you think would be awesome when you're like 10 years old, and when you grow up, you're like, oh.
Yeah, because you watch all the lightsaber fights and nothing.
You see the lightsabers, you see all the clones and
But
their cool spaceships, and you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you watch it, and you're like, wait a second, what is actually happening in this
Yeah,
movie?
but that being said, I will say, in terms of like the first action sequence of like the chase scene and
The movie peaks with the speeder chase.
that was, you can't deny that's not a great sequence. That's a great sequence.
There are some insane bits in that, like Anakin just jumping off of the speedster, which I did not remember him doing that so unprompted.
He did it in the trailer, dude. If you remember.
I've never seen the trailer for Attack of the Clones.
Well, my point is, like, it's unfortunate that it peaked at the very beginning and it didn't get any better.
As a YouTuber has discussed, holy crap, the plan to assassinate Padme is ludicrous.
Yeah, I mean, for especially for 2002, I think that's at the time.
First,
it's a little intense.
First, there's the
joke is already.
the joke has already been made.
So we're not going to repeat it.
Yeah, it's insane. It is just ridiculously convoluted as like the opening assassination scene.
It kills her. It kills her.
Chain of people.
And it kills her decoy, right?
It kills her decoy, and then there's bugs, and then Zam Wessel dies to a saber dart that Jango Fett specifically got from a planet that is the only planet the saber dart could have been manufactured on, leading Obi-Wan right to him like an idiot.
I mean, it's just part of the evil plan, you know?
An evil plan concocted by
crazy people.
Dumb.
Hey, language. Sorry about that. We'll censor that, folks. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay.
I will say the only, like, in terms of performances, a little all over the place.
Oh my god, the performances in this movie were so messy.
The only performance I would say that is actually consistent is, or one of the only ones at least, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan I would say he's probably one of the more consistent ones.
Ewan was trying his best with this script.
He was really trying, and
you can really tell.
yeah. Samuel L. Jackson as Windu was pretty solid.
He's
too.
all right.
Hey,
I personally think the most consistent actor in this movie is Anthony Daniels, which shouldn't really be
Oh
a
yeah,
surprise.
yes, C-3PO actually has
Anthony, yeah.
because he has his like he's covered now. He's got silver.
I'm beside myself as his head is sitting next to his
Oh
body.
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Anthony Daniels is a national treasure. I love that man. And
Yeah,
he
he is
no
the
matter how bad the Star Wars movies he's in, he's always
He's
earning
consistent.
that paycheck. God bless him.
He's very consistent in the Star Wars movies. He's the one-
R2D2 knocking him into the assembly line is so genuinely funny.
I mean, it's the first time they have real like kind of original trilogy-esque interactions.
I love that they have the beef from the original trilogy. It's so good.
Yeah, they're I mean, as Kathleen Kennedy said, with anything that happens with R2D2 and C-3PO, what could possibly go wrong?
Oh God, they're
In
funny.
a word, everything.
They're so funny.
But yeah, they're
Speaking of other performances in this movie,
Hayden Christensen.
oh my, okay, we have to finally rip the Band-Aid off. Hayden Christensen, Anakin
Yeah, it was-
Skywalker in this movie comes off as a complete and utter sociopath.
Yeah, he honestly, you're kind of right on that one.
I have never seen a character who is just like the entire deal with the trilogy is supposed to be Anakin Skywalker's rise as a hero and his tragic fall. He's basically he feels like a supervillain in several points of this movie already, and it's distressing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is getting to the point where it's like, oh yeah, he's slowly.
It's not slowly. He goes from 0 to 100 in like a single scene.
You know what I mean though. But like he's like it's not really like a rise and fall. It's like a really quick rise and then an immediate fall. If that makes sense.
Not just the men, but the women and children
Yeah,
too.
you can't deny that. I mean, to give that scene some. I mean, it is kind of messed up. Not
Christian, that is the single worst line read Christensen has in that entire movie. It's impressive.
I will say that it's a really dark moment, and
It would be dark to me if it wasn't so utterly comical because Christensen cannot carry this moment whatsoever.
But also, was this one of his first roles too?
I think this was he had part of a career before this.
But this is his first major role, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it essentially
I think he was in Goosebumps.
he was
Wait, really?
He's Canadian, so yeah. He was also in I don't remember which of these it was. It was either Push or Jumper. I know because
Jumper.
Okay.
he was in Jumper. That was another movie he was in around this time when he was at this age.
Yeah, and then he barely did any roles after.
And then he left because I understand why.
But also he did do a few things here and there, but not a lot. We'll talk about.
I'm
that
gonna be
another
honest.
time.
Anyone who thinks Anakin and Obi-Wan's chemistry in the prequels is actually good is wrong.
Yeah, at least they kind of improved upon it in the next one.
Ewan is trying so desperately hard to keep this duo afloat, and Hayden cannot do anything to save his life.
Yeah. Do you think was Hayden worse than Natalie in this, or do you think Natalie was better?
Natalie is slightly better, but
not by
also
much.
not that good.
Yeah, I mean she had it rough with the.
I
Star
will
Wars
say,
films.
costuming department,
They got a raise.
excellent work on specifically everything Padme wears in this movie.
Yeah,
you guys got it. You got it right
Yeah,
every time.
They need a raise. They need a raise. Yes, but yeah.
As expected, the costumes are good in this. I like the set design of Coruscant. It's a
Yeah,
very
I mean, it was also the first time where the Star Wars movies went very heavy on the CG too.
oh my God, you can tell there are some scenes that look straight up like that scene from Brave New World we were talking about.
But also, wasn't this the first time we had a CG Yoda too? More CG.
I think Phantom Menace might have had something like that.
No,
but-
because the original version of it was the puppet Yoda, if you remember.
Yeah, but I think Phantom Menace might have also had a CG Yoda.
But I think then they remade it with a CG.
This is the first time we fully see Yoda CG jumping around and doing stuff.
Yeah, which you can't deny that's not awesome.
Backflip, war crime, I must
Yeah,
commit.
I think it was first in Attack of the Clones where he was full CG.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. So he
there
was
you go.
partially CG in Phantom Menace.
I don't know. Maybe who knows?
Sounds about right. But honestly,
Frank Oz sounds like he's dying in this movie.
I mean, it was we still got him as Yoda, so kind of.
He sounds like
He
the
could've given-
line when he's giving orders to clone troopers. I'm like, are you okay? Do you need a glass of water, man?
I mean, how old was he at the time of
I assume he like Frank
six-
Oz was old when he was doing the prequels.
Oh yeah, and he's still around. And he's still alive too.
Is he still alive?
I believe so.
I was.
80
He's really.
right now.
He's 80. Okay, so he would be in his 60s working on
Okay,
this.
that makes sense.
He sounds 20 years older when he's recording for Yoda in this film.
I mean, yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, he does definitely is definitely one of his weaker performances as Yoda.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Honestly, another highlight of this film, Temuera Morrison, I genuinely like.
Who is that again?
He's Jango Fett and
Oh,
all
yes,
of the
Jango Fett.
and all of the clones.
Yeah. The Django was exceptional in this. I think, but Boba was something to be desired. I think.
I wouldn't say he was exceptional, but I feel he
And
was like,
I said left something to be
yeah.
desired.
I also like Boba, honestly.
Really? Because I thought some of his line reads were very poor. Not gonna lie.
He kind of felt like
the pressure.
the closed off child character that would make sense in this situation.
I feel like some of his voice lines were a little high pitched, and I was like, and it felt very off putting. Honestly.
I do really like how they never outright say why Jango wants him, but it's very directly implied why he exists.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool they introduced him in this.
Like, I like that it's essentially a thing for the Kaminoans to go, he wanted an unaltered clone without aging and, like, as a kid. And they're
Oh,
the
yeah, you're
Kaminoans
right.
don't understand why this is because their culture is so vastly different.
I never thought
Whereas
of it like
Jango's
that.
entire idea is, I want a kid.
I just want a
He
family.
meets a Jedi.
That's the best fight scene in the movie. Django versus Obi-Wan on the hangar
Oh yeah,
is
that
a
was
really good fight.
that was a great fight, honestly.
When I heard Obi-Wan say, "Oh, not good," it sounded like it was edited into the film because I've seen that in so many edits online.
Why don't we? I mean, we're not going to probably watch this again for the review, except for the review. But anyways, we need to talk about the final battle though, because I'm gonna say it right now, Phantom Menaces was definitely better.
Phantom Menace's final battle is interesting because it's like 5 different perspectives, and yet it never really feels super cluttered. They managed to jump around at the right time to each setting.
And they even improved upon that in Revenge of the Sith, if you remember.
Oh yeah, Revenge of the Sith did have a.
It was
version of
only 2 perspectives too, which is even easier to keep track of.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith had a really good section like that, and I really like the Phantom Menace's final battle in regards to how it feels like multiple fronts of an actual conflict, which the movie is trying to be. Like, you see the Jedi versus Maul's role in it. You see on the plains of Naboo with the Gungan army. You see Padme's retaking the castle. You see the fighters going after the Trade Federation mothership.
And then, of course, Darth Maul, of course.
Yeah, I already said Darth Maul.
Oh,
but, like, everything feels connected, even though it isn't.
Separate.
It feels like everything's happening contemporaneously.
This is all at once, and it's a little very cluttered, I will say.
This final,
That's pretty much, that sums it up in a
I
nutshell.
was mainly paying attention for the funny C-3PO stuff at the first portion. That's really good.
Yeah, and didn't they introduced, like, the bigger droids, too, like the silver
The
ones.
super battle droids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those.
This is where they debut.
Yeah, and we'd see them obviously again in the Clone Wars show, which
Yeah.
And speaking of Clone Wars, actually, we'll get to that in a moment. Is the 2D animated one, is that canon? Just for reference?
I think the 2D animated one is still canon.
Sean, can you fact check that for us?
Is it canon or Legends? The 2D animated Clone Wars by. If you don't know, that's by Genndy Tartakovsky, best known for Genndy Tartakovsky,
Wait, what did you
best
say?
known for his work on Samurai Jack.
Oh, what did you say, Sean? Is it canon?
Pronunciation.
Yeah. Is it canon or Legends?
Because
I think it might have been decanonized.
oh, well, that's a shame.
Okay, so it's Legends. Got it.
Yeah, which honestly.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
because
during the Legends Declaration.
makes sense. Makes sense.
That's actually kind of interesting because it technically would be before
It does-
the CG.
It does contradict some other stuff though that happened in canon, like
Oh, I
Dirge.
see.
Like Dirge's introduction in canon is
Some of it
altered.
might be a bit canon here and there. It's
Yeah.
whatever.
Anyway,
It's
it
complicated.
It wasn't also. I heard this online, but wasn't Asajj Ventress supposed to be included in this at one point?
In this movie.
Yeah.
What? I cannot.
Yeah. Sorry about that, folks.
Christopher Lee and who?
Christopher Lee and Jar Jar.
Oh
yeah.
Okay. Christopher Lee feels really just uncomfortable in this movie.
And honestly, to the point where
Star Wars fan.
I mean, which is interesting because
He's a Star Wars fan, but also like you could tell the scene of
The
him on
pressure
the
was getting to him.
The scene of him on the speeder is laughable because it looks like it's like
It's very green screen.
I
You can
wonder
tell it's a
what.
green screen.
There's a lot of green screening in this, and a lot of it looks awful, like the explosion on the landing platform at the start of the film.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes where you can easily tell it's a green screen.
Like, I get George Lucas's interest in like CG at the time because it was a burgeoning technology. Tone it down, please.
yeah, it definitely was very early on, and Lucasfilm should have been at the
This
forefront
was
of it.
definitely like Phantom Menace didn't feel like it had this much CG.
Yeah, and it felt more natural.
George Lucas was a Christopher Lee fan.
Oh God. Yeah, no wonder Christopher Lee felt uncomfortable.
And it's also a lot of pressure too. For
Okay,
Star
can we
Wars.
talk about how Padme is responsible for the death of democracy in the Star Wars universe?
Please explain.
Okay, so when Padme and Anakin are going off on their mission to the kind of their thing, they initially are going off on like a kind of vacation retreat, and then that turns midway through into Anakin going to rescue his mother from Tusken Raiders.
Which is, I mean, I know you were talking about this earlier, but like even though he said,
And then they finally intersect with Obi-Wan's plot on Geonosis because
it needed to happen.
Padme leaves Jar Jar essentially in her position at the Senate.
Yeah, which
Jar Jar is the one who gives emergency powers to Chancellor Palpatine, who
Also
is
Sidious.
actually Darth Sidious, meaning that essentially all of this is Padme's fault.
and honestly, that was one of the things I noticed when rewatching. I was like, I never noticed that before.
As our buddy Sean described it, Jar Jar may have been the one who killed democracy, but Padme handed him the gun.
Yeah, that's very valid and very unfortunate.
Speaking of democracy,
But I guess they needed a reason for him to be there, I guess.
Speaking of democracy discussion in this movie, the scene with Anakin and Padme talking about politics is probably one of the most laughable things I've ever seen in a Star Wars project.
It was not that great, honestly.
Anakin's like, we should have this system of democracy. It's like, Padme's like, we already have that. And Anakin's like, no, but I mean a system where one guy decides everything after these meetings. Like, that sounds like fascism, Anakin.
I think she said a dictatorship, but
That sounds like a dictatorship, Anakin. It's just, like,
I mean, she's not wrong.
Anakin's brain in this movie,
It's a little all over the place.
I want to go inside it. It sounds fascinating. What is his thought process during any scene?
I mean, he was more like he had to have been like a young adult at this point because it was 10 years after, like a teen at that point. So I think maybe that was their intention, but who knows?
I'm still not a fan of, in retrospect, the fact that Padme essentially meets Anakin when there's a significant age gap between them.
Wait,
and
how old was Anakin? Oh yeah, I guess. I mean,
Anakin was like 10, and I think
unless Padme was younger than she looked.
Padme was younger than 18 in the first movie, I believe, but I believe she was like on the upper side of that, so like 16 or 17.
Huh, okay. Because I was wondering that at one point during the movie. I was like, is Padme just younger than she looks, or is she...
They mention in Attack of the Clones that she, even though she is not the youngest queen elected to Naboo, she is one of the younger ones.
Yeah, she is one of the... Did they actually say who the youngest one is, or
They did not specify. I assume it's in Legends somewhere.
Probably, and there's a new queen of Naboo who's like not a decoy, but I think
I actually really liked her line read. I forget the exact line she gives. It was something.
But it was with like the.
It was like people with we need, like, it's something roughly along the lines of democracy stops working when people stop believing in it.
That's a great
done.
line, by the way.
And I'm like, oh man, this feels a little too real.
Anyways, so
moving on. Okay.
we do need. I do want to address two final things.
Okay.
The final lightsaber battle with Dooku and Anakin and Obi-Wan. What do we think of that? I mean, it was fine, I think.
It was pretty under par for me in terms of a lightsaber fight.
Compared to the Maul fight, the Darth Maul fight, it was...
Oh, yeah. It's a notable downgrade from Darth Maul. It's impressive.
Yeah, but hey, we got a bigger upgrade in Revenge of the Sith.
I'm very excited to watch that one again.
Yeah, and...
Backflips, I must.
Yeah. Anyways.
Honestly, my personal favorite kind of lightsaber duel is the one you see more... I don't know why. I think my favorite lightsaber duel is actually the one in The Last Jedi.
Like with the
I think that's like my favorite lightsaber ending set piece of it.
With like the red backgrounds and stuff?
Both the big fight in Snoke's throne room and the Luke versus Kylo fight, I think, are my favorite lightsaber, like my favorite lightsaber duel climax.
So sequel. That's
I
a
like
bold
the
statement.
sequels going for a kind of more deliberate style compared to the floatiness of the prequels. Like, it feels more like going back to the original trilogy, and I respect that.
I could see why you'd think that. And
Yeah.
but I will
But
say
we can talk more about those as we keep going.
I
with
will.
this.
I will say the only benefits that final lightsaber thing had, the 2 lightsaber action that Anakin did was kind of cool. But
For
it was
like
so
fi-
it was
for like
so
fi-
short lived.
Yeah, for like literally 5 seconds before Dooku chops off his hand.
Yeah, but I will say that we also got to see his arm get chopped off, which is him just another step becoming Vader, obviously.
Yep.
Which honestly, maybe it's just me, but it was definitely practical effects, and I don't think it looked that great.
One last thing I want to say: it's unbelievable that Padme still wants to be with Anakin after all of the out of pocket stuff he like says in this movie.
Yeah.
It's
Kind of
like, as I said,
remarkable.
he's a serial killer. He has serial killer energy in every single scene, in like almost every single scene he's in. I don't trust him. Padme, what are you doing?
He doesn't have serial killer energy. He is a literal mass murderer.
Oh right,
Fair enough.
Sean. If you didn't pick that up, Sean said Anakin does not have serial killer energy. He's a literal mass murderer due to the Tusken Raider thing, and that
something else-
makes complete sense.
And also something that eventually happens in episode 3.
Honestly, yeah. At this point, him turning into Darth Vader feels like it was
It was-
inevitable.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we've been
Man, I
rambling.
want to read some Darth Vader comics after this. I'm gonna read the I'm gonna read the first volume of Kieran Gillen later.
Yeah. So I would say, is there anything we need to bring up before we wrap
My
up?
final point, most of my enjoyment in this movie was me remembering a level in Lego Star Wars that it's in, and I'm like, oh, I remember that. That was a fun level.
Yeah, the Lego Star Wars adaptation of Attack of the Clones was great, actually. Well, kind
The part of this that really was like it was the Kamino stuff. That was one of
Yeah.
the main things. The big one was Geonosis. I love the level on like the droid factory.
And
in
that was also in the Clone Wars game, too. I think it was like the prologue level. I
yeah.
think.
Whenever I heard the Geonosis blaster sound effect, I was like, oh, it's that thing from the video game I like.
Yeah. Those games are awesome.
Honestly, one point of praise: sound design in this movie, really good.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm actually gonna throw this in last minute, but you guys want me to play through Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga at some point?
I'd
during
be
the
up for
game?
co-oping that with you.
Oh, that's even better, actually. Maybe
Final scores?
final scores.
Final scores. One last thing though for the sound design. The best example of this is like those charges from Jango's ship.
Oh yeah.
Like the kind of dull silence before the.
Yeah, that's a great.
Like
great,
the sound team did.
did
If there's
good.
people who did the best job of this, it's the sound team
And the costume designers.
the costume designer, and John Williams composing and his composer team.
100%. And
Okay, final score. I gave this like a high 4, low 5, I think.
I was gonna say like maybe a 4.5 or maybe a 5 at best as well, because
I'm gonna go with high 4.
yeah. But one last thing before we wrap up. Begun. This Clone War has.
We're about to go for a whole lot of seasons and introduce some actually good and actually make this era worthwhile.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about it. But anyways, I think we're about done here, so don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're not only going to wrap up the show, but we have some updates for you regarding some more upcoming content we've got lined up. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Well, guys, I think we've had another really fun episode. However, we're not done just yet, because we did promise you guys a couple of updates for future content. So that being said, let's run through what we got. So I'm going to pull out my trusty new phone here, which I just recently upgraded.
I got a new phone a couple weeks ago, too.
I assume there's like
Or
an
a
early
month or
birthday
two
thing.
ago.
Sort of, yeah, sort of. I guess you
Nice.
could say that. So basically, I have a couple of updates regarding the future of the channel. So first off, regarding streaming, this is a question I think probably a few people have had on their minds. When are we going to start streaming the games again? So as you know, last year we finished the Sonic Generations portion. I still have not got to Shadow Generations yet. I can safely say it should be back. Shadow Generations should hopefully be finished, or started rather, by May.
I mean, you should do that for your own benefit more than anything. Shadow Generations is excellent.
That's what I've heard.
I've
and
heard really good things.
And
Yeah.
I'm very upset that I haven't gone to it yet. So hopefully by May we'll be able to start that. Also, another really important thing regarding May. So I'll be the first to admit we were gonna review Daredevil Born Again in April, I have not finished the Defender saga yet, and it's technically canon. So we're gonna push the April episode back to May, and we're gonna push the May episode back to early June.
I mean, Daredevil Born Again, I would say, is pretty approachable, but you're the boss.
Yeah, but I just like to be caught up on stuff and just not. But that's my
Oh
course.
God, you have to watch Iron Fist. I'm sorry.
I've dealt with worse.
Have you?
Iron Fist is
Yes,
kind of
I
like
have dealt with worse.
Iron Fist. I don't.
But anyway, but
I mean,
that's
you
besides.
probably even that. Then you probably just need to watch like the Daredevil seasons, don't you?
That's-
You just need to watch, Daredevil and like at most Jessica Jones season 1 maybe.
and the Punisher.
Oh yeah, Punisher too.
Then
but-
again, the Punisher stuff doesn't seem to be that notable outside of his Daredevil stuff in season 2.
Born Again.
Anyway,
we're not.
we'll talk about this later.
We will discuss this later.
Yeah, we'll discuss this in May. But anyways, yeah. So May episode in June and April episode in May. So we're also going to be excited to announce this is something I'm actually really excited for, and that is the fact that beginning of April, if I'm very lucky with my schedule at that time, we're going to be streaming the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, which I know we didn't react to the initial trailer for it, so we'll probably do that then as
I
well.
mean, that was kind of just like a drop.
Yes, that is true.
It not that much to talk about in that trailer, honestly.
but
It exists. Mario Kart is there. I mean, I'm sold already.
Yeah, I mean-
Mario looks like a little guy.
Also,
but I will.
the prospect of a 60 frames per second Xenoblade X is making me hate Nintendo because that means I can't buy Xenoblade X right this minute.
Regardless, and I'm honestly kind of shocked they nothing's leaked out of this, which is kind of
I mean,
miraculous.
Nintendo has had some lockdown leaks before. Like Smash Ultimate was pretty heavily locked down, except for that one guy who leaked it a day before, but no one believed him.
I will also say that like they've got a Marvel Studios level of secrecy over there. But anyways, there is one other thing I did want to bring up, and this is actually something that you two are not aware of, and this is the fact that hopefully, I think with our May episode, which is like I said is gonna be in June, that will be the official start to Summer Spectrum 2025, ladies and gentlemen. It is coming back this year, and we have got, guys, we have I have a really exciting plan for you guys, and hopefully, if we're extremely lucky, it might involve some of you guys. So I can't say too much on that yet.
I mean, there's a lot of great stuff to review in those months too.
They're sure. Oh God, this summer is packed.
Yeah, and honestly, we've got a really good lineup, and honestly, I'm still trying to lock some things down, but if we're able to lock it down, guys, this could be something legendary for the Spectrum Show and just Access Framingham in general. So, guys, those are all the updates regarding the future of the Spectrum Show. We hope you're as excited as we are for it. All right. So that being said, and from the entire cast and crew, believe me, these are going to be as exciting as these updates are. The best, it's still to come, guys, and we hope you're as excited as we are.
Feel free to leave a like, a friendly comment, share this video with your family and friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel with notifications on so you don't miss any future content.
Please be sure to follow us on Facebook Threads, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitch, join our Discord server, become a member on Patreon for just $1 a month. You can get access to bonus content nowhere else, and keep an eye out for our upcoming BlueSky account. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time,
Good night, everybody.
Three-time Academy Award-winning director.
That was
Was
so
my
good.
mic not working?
I don't know what that was.